Peggle.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Ferret 64 with me, your host, Yemmy the Ferret. I hope you're all having a good week or a good weekend or whatever day you're listening to this on. I hope it's a good one. This is, of course, the one-stop shop for video game news, occurrences, first impressions, and so much more. We got a loaded slate today with a big release and some news articles. So let's jump right into what have I been playing this past week. First up on the document is Call of Duty Black Ops 6. And going into this one, I wasn't sure what to expect because Modern Warfare 3 was so bad. You can go back and hear that rant back in the last year if you scroll through the podcast. And I know that Black Ops 6 is developed by a different team and blah, 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 blah. I get that. I mean, there's 3 different major teams working on these now. But I wasn't sure what to expect. But they did get that extra year to develop the game that most Call of Duties don't get. Because Modern Warfare 3 was more of like, I mean, it was a full release, obviously, but it was more of like an expansion onto Modern Warfare 2, which shows with the trophy list being linked together with Modern Warfare 2. But then again, Black Ops 6 on the PS5 has, the add-on trophy list for it too. So it's like, why are we doing that? I think that's like, if I was a trophy hunter or whatever, still, that would be very annoying because now I either need to degrade my copy to a PS4 version or I just need to, work through an entire game's platinum trophy list with no real reward at the end. And this all comes down to Call of Duty now being a part of like its own launcher, which they did. I feel like back when Modern Warfare 2019 came out, the reboot of the series came out, I remember you being able to switch between games with a little bit of a launcher, but it was like Call of Duty World War II, Modern Warfare, and the latest Black Ops, which I think was 4. So I remember them doing something like that back in the day, but it wasn't like the games were all launching from that system. You could just switch between the games if you wanted to by going to that menu in each of the games, which I felt was like nice, especially if you're a person who maybe you like the World War II multiplayer, but you're playing the campaign for 2019 Modern Warfare, just something like that. Nowadays, just to put it in perspective, I'm playing this on Xbox Game Pass, like a lot of people probably are, and I have to open up Xbox Game Pass. I have to launch Call of Duty Black Ops 6. It launches into the Call of Duty launcher, and then I have to select Black Ops 6. If I want to go to multiplayer, I don't need to load any more things up. But if I want to do campaign, then I have to select campaign. It downs Black Ops 6. It reopens Black Ops 6 in the campaign mode, and then now I can play the campaign. It just seems a bit goofy to me, especially because the launcher for Black Ops 6 should just be Black Ops 6. I should be in Black Ops 6 in total, but instead you need to reload in the campaign. It's very weird decisions going on in Activision right now. People on Steam are pretty pissed about that, obviously. The separate launcher for Call of Duty, and I also believe that you have to download the Blizzard launcher and then also launch it through the BattleNet, which is also very strange. So for what it's worth, the PlayStation 5 and Xbox version doesn't really have this problem, I don't think, but for people playing it on PC, it's a bit of it's a bit weird. It's a bit of a elongated way to load up the game, and I understand. I mean, it's kind of been annoying me as well. Like if I just want to play multiplayer and zombies, boom, I'm in the game, 2 clicks. campaign for some reason is like 4 clicks. It has to reload the launcher. Not to mention sometimes the game will update. So now you need to reboot the Call of Duty launcher for an update, or you need to reboot the Black Ops 6 original launcher for because there was an update, and then it just so happens the campaign mode has an update too, so you got to reload that. It's just there's annoyances that don't need to be there. But that's not to say that the game is not worth going through the annoyances to play. This is a pretty strong Call of Duty game, all things considered, which goes back to that extra year of development that it had. And it actually plays pretty well. The new movement system is actually pretty engaging. It messes me up a little bit because I'm not used to it, but being able to like run backwards and do all these weird prone movements is is very interesting. And obviously they brought back the dolphin dive, and they also added sliding in there. So if you're running and you press Alt on your keyboard or whatever, you'll do a dolphin dive. If you press C, you'll do a slide. So there's all these different movement things in there that enhance the gameplay a bit. And a lot of people will call it, I'm sure there's people who call it annoying to have people like slipping and sliding all around. I think it kind of does make it feel a little bit like Advanced Warfare at times because of the movement system in that game. Obviously, it was a bit more restricted in that one, but the people boosting around and boosting around corners kind of feels the same as this right now with Black Ops 6. People sliding around corners and diving around corners, and I've been having a decent time with the multiplayer. I don't think it's the best Call of Duty multiplayer ever, but compared to Call of Duty Cold War, I think it feels pretty on par with that, maybe a little bit better. I know that people claim that Call of Duty hasn't been good for quite some time, but looking back, I mean, Modern Warfare 3 was really the biggest dud that they've developed in quite some time. Before that, I mean, I guess Vanguard also. I would say Vanguard was also pretty bad. So there's 2 duds there, but you think about it. We got Black Ops 6, which has been pretty good so far. Modern Warfare 2, the reboot, Modern Warfare 2 was decent. I enjoyed that. I think the multiplayer really held that one up. The story was fine. The story was fine. The original Modern Warfare 2019 game was good. I enjoyed that one. I thought it was actually pretty good for a reboot of the series. The various Black Ops games, Call of Duty Cold War, I thought that was actually really good. I really enjoyed it when I played through it. Call of Duty World War II, very fun. That's probably one of my more recently favorite Call of Duty games. Called Black Ops 4, I didn't like Black Ops 4. I know there's a lot of people who stand by it, but I didn't like Black Ops. I thought Black Ops 4 was pretty bad. But I think the track record of Call of Duty games has been better recently than it was in the past. I feel like in the past, once Call of Duty Ghosts came around, and even though I enjoyed that, but at the time, you knew that it was kind of going in a weird direction, and that's when Black Ops 3 came out, and a lot of people didn't like Infinite Warfare, and Advanced Warfare was also mixed reception, and then the big stinker of Black Ops 4 came out. So I think this generation of Call of Duty games has been better in a lot of ways, even though it still has its duds. We'll see. I mean, we'll see how it goes in the future. Obviously, now that Black Ops 6 has got an extra year to develop, whatever Sledgehammer Games is working on also is getting an extra year to work on as well. So maybe now with this new release schedule, the games will hopefully keep improving and changing as they go along. But I guess it's a wait and see type thing. But the multiplayer itself, I feel like, is pretty strong. The gun customization is always top notch in these games. The gameplay itself feels good. There's a good variety of weapons. The beta only had 3 assault rifles, 2 submachine guns, 1 LMG, 1 shotgun. But there's a good selection of weapons now, and with plenty of customization options, so you can turn the AK-74 into the RPK or whatever you want to turn it into. There's ways to mod your weapons like that, which is really fun. I really enjoy doing that kind of thing. The maps themselves, the multiplayer maps, I don't really enjoy most of them. I think most of them are either just kind of fine or bad. There are a couple that I do enjoy, but The a majority of them I feel like have been kind of weak in my opinion, and that's unfortunate because the rest of the multiplayer feels good, you know. So that's the thing about that. That's kind of like I really wish that the multiplayer maps were better because this is just kind of it's serviceable at best, but not great. There's one map in particular that was like it's kind of like this like house. It's in the campaign too. I forget what they call it. Rook, I think is what they call it. And it's just such a small map, so confined. Like there is no way to really predict where people are coming from because it's almost the size as Rust. And it's like, look, Rust worked because it had that giant thing in the middle that blocked half the map from view from the other side. So, you know, you kind of need that. And when the house is open to go through and the outside of the house is open to go through and the spawns are as bad as they are in this game right now, you know, it's like, well, there's your problem right there. That map is like the antithesis of every single thing that I think is bad about the multiplayer in one package. It's kind of crazy. The maps are too small for the amount of movement people have. The spawn points are absolutely ridiculous sometimes, especially when you're playing on something like domination or just team deathmatch in general. Like we went back to like, remember how everyone was complaining about the original Modern Warfare 2 spawns? It kind of makes me feel like that again, which is not great. Sometimes you spawn and you immediately die. Sometimes you spawn and you get a kill. Like the guy's like running past you and you spawn in. It's like that shouldn't happen, you know? But it's because of how fast people are moving around on the map. Because people are moving so fast that the spawn points gotta keep pinging you around the different spawn points. It's a bit of a problem in my opinion. But really, those are like the two main things that I would say are the most annoying thing about the multiplayer, which honestly are two big things. But I'm still having enough fun with it to, you know, keep with it, keep messing around with it. There's a couple new game modes in there that I think are fine. Like there's the one where you get to like it's called like VIP, and one person has extra armor, and they you need to protect them for as long as you can. I think that's fine. They also have like this assault mode, almost not like the Call of Duty World War II assault mode, but you essentially have one team attacking two objectives and the other team's defending them. I don't know if that was in Modern Warfare 3 or 2. I can't remember right now, but it's a fun mode. It has a little bit of strategy in there, you know. But yeah, that's the. I mean, the multiplayer is good. I will say it's not great, but it's good. I think it's better than Modern Warfare 3's attempt at bringing back all this nostalgia for that game. The map, like I complained about this when Modern Warfare 3 came out. The maps that they remastered from the original release of Modern Warfare 2 just did not work with the new movement systems. I felt like they were awful to play on with the new version of Call of Duty. But I still think Modern Warfare 2 had probably the best selection of starting maps that we've had in a while. Because Black Ops 6 is just these maps are really not that fun to play on. Even though the gameplay is fun, the maps themselves, not my favorite thing ever. So the multiplayer is good, but it's not great. It's fun, and obviously when you're playing with other people too, but it's not great. I'll say that again. The zombies mode was a very big surprise for me. Now, we haven't played too much zombies. We played once on each map, and we were just having a blast. And I know that playing with friends is obviously going to make things a little bit more fun than they would be if you're playing solo, but I think that the zombies mode is vastly improved from what it was in the last iteration of it. Especially since like Black Ops 4 and even Cold War, in my opinion. Now, I didn't really play zombies on Cold War a lot, but I do remember it not being that fun for me. You all know this if you've listened to the podcast for a while. I'm not big on the zombies modes in Call of Duty. Like World at War was great, Black Ops 1 was pretty good, and Black Ops 2 was great as well. But after that, I started to peter out on zombies mode, and this one has kind of brought me back. Like even though World War 2 had a kind of a unique zombies mode too, like it was more horror based, I thought that one was fine. But I do see myself playing a lot more Black Ops 6 zombies because not only does the movement make it a little bit more fun, but the two maps that are starting off this time around are just fun. They're good. I enjoy them. The first one is I forget the names of them, but the first one is like this small section of a town, and there's like zip lines everywhere, and there's like this church that you can unlock, and there's a pack-a-punch machine in there. Like it's one of those ones that's it's a bit more mission based because they want you to go around and do these challenges and kill as many zombies as you can, and then you extract at the end of it all. And I think that the map is really fun to maneuver around on. There's plenty of different ways to go. The enemy variety is pretty nice too, like compared to other zombie modes. Like not only do you have your regular zombies and armored zombies, but now you have the mangler guys who have like these energy weapons attached to them, and they got tons of health. There's these abominations that spawn in this map that have like 3 heads, and they shoot out lightning rays or whatever you want to call them. There's also like spider dudes running around running amok around the area as well, which are kind of fun to fight too. Not annoying like some of the other variants in other Call of Duty games. So I think the zombies mode has been refined, and I think it plays pretty well just for a regular zombies map. But I could also see Easter egg stuff being pretty fun to do on these maps as well. The second map is like an island that you start on, and essentially there's like little islands dotted around the map as well to go to, and there's like a crashed cargo ship as well. And this is another one that's it says it's more survival based on the main menu, which I guess I agree with. But there are some things you need to do to get like the pack-a-punch working and the power turned on. So it's more of a, I guess it really is more of a original kind of map, because back in the day, starting on like the second map for Call of Duty Zombies, I can't remember the name of it right now. You had to turn on the power for the doors, and you had to buy the doors and stuff. It kind of goes back. It harkens back to that, the World at War days and Black Ops 1 days. So it is a bit nostalgia fueled, I guess, but it does play very nicely. And even though we didn't survive as long as we did on the first map, I thought it was still a pretty fun time. I think that it'll be a staple of the Black Ops community, I would think. So yeah, I think that this time around the zombies are great. I think that it works really well. I think they redesigned and refined the formula to kind of work better than it has in many, many years, at least for me personally. Once again, not really a big zombies guy, but this one actually has been pretty fun. I really was enjoying that. I would give the zombies a thumbs up, which is like the first time I'm saying this in a very long time, in all honesty. The campaign has also been a pretty good time as well. Kind of like Cold War, they put a lot of effort into designing the levels and making them all kind of feel a bit unique, even though it does usually just turn into bang bang shooty time, right? But there are a couple levels that have been standing out to me that are really good. The third mission, I think it is it's kind of the one that they showed off at like I forget what it was, a Summer Games Fest or something like that, where you start off and you are at Senator Kennedy's like a rally, not really a rally, just like a ball or whatever. He's there, and he doesn't say anything. So they didn't get a like an impersonator or anything for him, and essentially what you need to do is you case the place, and you need to have access to this one senator who has access to a bunker that you need to get into that is kind of like underneath the facility. So you have 3 different ways of getting his eye. You need to take a high-res photo of his eye. So there's 3 different ways to do it. And each one is kind of one's more stealthy, one's kind of like sabotagey, blackmail, I guess you could say. And the other one is kind of like I don't even know how to say it. How I mean, the other one is just kind of it's just different from the other two. That's what I'll say. um, which is fun. I like that. Kind of like that one mission in Cold War where you're going around the Soviet that Soviet facility. There's multiple ways to get through this one, which I feel is pretty fun. I enjoyed that a lot. And then it does devolve into like a sneaking mission, but you can go guns blazing if you want to. And eventually you get the guy you're going to get in the bunker, and you fight your way out, and then the big ending set piece is riding on the motorcycles that you see in the trailer. So I thought it was a nice flow to the mission where it starts off kind of like, okay, we're taking pictures, we're smooshing up the big wigs, and then it gets into, oh, we're under in this bunker and we gotta sneak around. I like that. I like levels that can really evolve as you go through them and escalate as you go through them. That's one of my favorite things in most campaigns for Call of Duty and other shooters as well. The mission after that is also, it's kind of a big mission. It's kind of reminded me of like the Madagascar mission from Uncharted 4 in a way, where you take this Jeep and you're going to these different points of interest on the map in Iraq, and you're trying to hunt down not Saddam Hussein, but like where his big bunker is that this secret organization is helping him get weapons of mass destruction, right? So essentially, like, you go around these different points of interest, and there's different things that you can find, and sometimes, like, when you finish a side objective, it'll give you like a new kill streak to use. So you can use the mortar kill streak because you find the laser detonator in one of the buildings, or you unlock a cache and it has extra ammo for the C4 in it, so you don't have to be stingy about it, stuff like that. So stuff that I feel like makes the level pretty stand out, I would say. Pretty unique, stand out. And that's the thing that I have liked about the campaign so far, is like it keeps kind of like changing up as you go through it. It's not just a bunch of stealth missions in a row. It's not just a bunch of shooty missions in a row. Like, it does keep changing things up. The one thing that kind of is annoying me with the campaign is there's so many references back to other franchises, or I guess not franchises, but the other games in the series. Mainly the Modern Warfare characters. There's like one or two Modern Warfare characters that shows up. And it's like, okay, all right, we're starting to meld these universes together, I suppose. And then also references to other characters from the Black Ops timeline, which at this point is a bit jumbled, right? Black Ops 1 came out, and then Black Ops 2 came out, and it was kind of like split between future and past. And I think that kind of screwed their timeline a little bit, because in this game, they keep talking about how, well, obviously Mason dies in the last game in Cold War, right? And so does Hudson. But in Black Ops 6, Hudson is killed in the future timeline, right? He's in the future. And so, and you can kill Mason in the future of that timeline too. So are they just, I guess they're rewriting the future timeline for the series, and they're keeping the old stuff, because Black Ops 2 was split between present and future. Or, I'm sorry, past and future. Well, I guess it kind of, well, it doesn't matter. I guess it would be past and present, because the future was now in that game, right? But yeah, essentially, you go through Black Ops 2's like past missions, and you're hunting down this guy named Menendez. And in that game, Menendez doesn't really die until the future or the present. And in Black Ops 6 here, they keep saying that Menendez is killed and blah blah blah. So even though they kind of are connecting things together, like Woods is in a wheelchair now because of the events from the last game, and maybe I don't know. Mason, it's and Hudson cannot. I mean, after the events of Cold War, it's hard to believe that they would be alive. But I guess there's. I mean, we'll see in this game. What Call of Duty's doing right now is they're bringing back all these characters that are that people loved back in the day, adding in some new ones here and there, of course, but that's what they're kind of doing right now is they're sprinkling in all these different characters that we used to love. So I wouldn't be surprised if like, oh, but Mason actually survived because of his love for the numbers. I don't know. So it's just kind of weird how they're doing the whole timeline thing with it. Other than that, I think the campaign has been pretty good. It starts off like fine. It starts off with a fine opening mission. It's not like amazing, but it's fine. But it does grow into something that is pretty special. Now I know it's been going around. IGN gave it a 9 out of 10 for the campaign. I don't know if I would be that generous, but right now it is like a 7.5, closer to an 8 than a 6. So that is good by Call of Duty campaign standards at this point. So yeah, I mean, if you want to check it out, it is on Xbox Game Pass, which I feel like is where most people are playing it. Even though while I'm playing the game, a lot of people are on PC. I haven't seen any PlayStation players, strangely enough. Or at least I haven't noticed it. Unless crossplay is turned off between PlayStation and Xbox and PC, I don't know. But yeah, I think that it was a good decision to put it on Game Pass. But even if it wasn't on Game Pass, I probably would have spent the $70 on this one. I know last time I was playing, last time I was talking about Modern Warfare 3, I was like, I'm never buying Call of Duty again. They $70 for this piece of shit. But I'm back. I'm back. Call of Duty has been a series in my life for quite some time, much like most people. And if you don't know, I've been playing it since like the first game. Like I started with Finest Hour, and then I went to the PC with the original Call of Duty and United Offensive, and then Call of Duty Big Red 1. And then eventually I got Call of Duty 2 for the PC, and I just went through all the games. I've gone through all the games, folks. I am a seasoned Call of Duty veteran, and it always somehow brings me back. It always somehow brings me back, and maybe it's because I've just been such a long-time fan of the series. But I'm not blinded though. I can tell you when something's bad. I've been pretty vocal about which ones are bad, which ones are good. Whatever. I'm not blinded by the fact, that I love the series. I still can be critical of it, even though I still enjoy it, right? And with it being on Game Pass, and I'm sure the future games will probably be on Game Pass as well. That really does help, because now instead of having that weight on my shoulders of like, oh, you got to pay $70 for this. Well, now I can just get it at no extra cost, and that allows me to buy other games like Sonic X Shadows Generations, which I haven't started yet, but I do plan to start this coming week. So probably talk about that next week. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is the new Astrobot speedrun called Hit the Ice. This one is much like the last one, just a quick little jaunt through a portion of a level that was in the main game, or pieces of parts of a level that was in the main game. This one has a lot of ice physics. It also uses the elephant upgrade, which is the one that sucks up material and you can shoot it out and use it. So the one that you're using in this one forms like that little ice pipe, whatever it's called. I gotta say, I'm not enjoying this one as much as the first one. I thought the first one, building speed, just having the dog attached to you and all that, it really felt like a real speed run challenge, right? It really felt like a speed run challenge. With the ice and stuff, like, yeah, sure, you're kind of zipping around a little bit, but it does feel a bit slowed down in a lot of ways. And I know there's people who are able to do this one really fast, much like the last one. But because I'm not enjoying this one as much, I've kind of settled on like the best score that I've gotten so far, which is like 38 seconds and 500 milliseconds or whatever it is. And I don't really feel the need to go back and try and bang my head against the wall trying to get anything faster. But it was, I mean, for what it's worth, it was fun. Don't get me wrong. It was fun. But it's not like as fun as the first one. I think that this one just struggles a little bit in terms of the flow of the level. At the end of it, you do get Eve from Stellar Blade as one of your unlockable characters, and then you also get another Helldiver. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be 4 Helldivers in total with these, or whatever. So we'll probably be getting a couple more Helldivers along with a few more random characters who weren't in the base game. The next one up is on October 31st called Spring Loaded Run. So I'm hoping that one's going to bring it back up to being like super fun again. But as of right now, I just kind of enjoyed it. Like but I didn't like really want to play it more than what I've already have. I mean, I probably replayed through it like 20 times or so, but that's about it. I wasn't like super into this ice levels speed run. And maybe having a different power up would have helped it a little bit. But then again, I don't know what other power up you could really put into this one that would have made it any better. I was hoping that maybe in this one you would get the axe halfway through or something like that from God of War, but they didn't do that. So yeah, that's the new speedrun map for Astrobot. I cannot wait for the next one. They've obviously been at least decent, you know. Other things that I've been playing this past week, we finished on stream 2 games, and one of them was Beyond Two Souls. And how much do I want to talk about this? Not a lot. Essentially, Beyond Two Souls, the original version of Beyond Two Souls, the story is mishmashed across the timeline. So you start off with the prologue being at the end of the game, and then you go to a section that's maybe like an early memory for the character, and then you go to like a mission that's like or something that's like kind of like in the middle of her life. It's just kind of like the timeline's all like, you know, you go in between different points on the timeline, which I thought was very detrimental to the flow of the story. There is a remixed version of it they can do, which does everything in chronological order, which I feel like is the better way to play this, because in the way that it is right now, it does like the story barely holds together in terms of continuity and stuff like that. Chronologically, at least, you could get to know these characters that you're interacting with better, so that later on when something happens to them or something's happening with them, you understand where it's coming from. The other things that I didn't like about this game was the main character, who was played by Elliot Page before she transitioned. The one thing that kind of irked me about it is I read the story about how, you know, through the production of it, like she was in the early stages of transitioning, right? And she requested, like, you know, hey, not really big into like doing like these sexual things, right? So what do the developers do? They have her in like several sexual assault scenarios, right? There's like there's a few different romance options for you to do that sometimes don't even make sense, right? And then there's also like 3 or 2 shower scenes in the game. It's like, what are we doing here? Like, even without the stuff with Elliot Page, it's a bit much, isn't it? Like, I understand that there are probably ways that I could have skirted around these situations, but the main thing for me is that like they kind of force you into a relationship with someone that you can literally tell them, I hate you, I never want to see you again, you suck, you know, I'm gonna kill you, right? You can say all these things to them, and then in the next chapter that they forward you to, you're having dinner with them and you're in a nightgown and whatever, and it's like, what are we doing here? Like, why are we forcing these things onto the player? Like, throughout the entire game, I was telling the main love interest for the game, I hate you, we'll never be together. And then they have the audacity at the end of the game to have me choose to be back with that person after denying him and rejecting him and saying that I hated him all throughout the game. It's like, what are you doing? This is ridiculous. Not only that, but there's just way too, like, there's just way too many sexual assault scenes in this game. It starts to become just absurd. You go from scene to scene, and there's just something happening to the character, and it's like, why does every single scene need something like this? Why does, well, you know, we go from, you know, she's as a child, she's being beaten by her foster dad, whatever you want to call it, and you know, fast forward, they forward to her at like a party as like a teen or a young teen, and you can choose to reject this guy's advances, and if you do or if you don't, he still says the same thing where he's like, oh, she was all over me all day, and you can choose to kiss him as well. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? And then she gets trapped in the closet, of course, and then later on she's going through like this emo phase, this goth phase, and she wants to go out, so you sneak out and you go to this bar, and there's 3 dudes at this bar. And they just like all 3 of them just immediately decide like, we're gonna sexually assault this woman. Like, what world are you living in right now? Like, it was getting crazy. And then at the end of the game, one of the most egregious things that they did, in my opinion, with how they wrote the scene. There's a character that you interact with who's played by William Dafoe, and throughout the whole game, he's kind of mourning the loss of his wife and child, and you can tell it's really affecting him as the game goes on. And at the climax of the game, he chooses to take a gun, and he shoots himself, right? And he kills himself. And throughout the later part of the game, he was researching how to bring his family back and how to talk to them in whatever. Lots of grief, very grief-stricken. And so he shoots himself, and then the next scene after that is him reuniting with his family because like this vortex is open and like the lines are getting crossed, right, between reality and the afterlife. And he reunites with his family, and he gives them a big hug, and they're all happy, and they start crying, and then they fade away, and it's like, oh, what a magical moment. But in my opinion, this is a very dangerous thing to do with your writing, is to have this character who's very grief-stricken, distraught about the death of his child and his wife, and what do you do in the end? You have them commit suicide, and what happens? They reunite with their families and they're happy again. That is a very dangerous thing to show a suicidal person. I'm being 100% serious right now. This is very serious. You are telling someone that, hey, if you kill yourself, then boom, you're going to be reunited with your family and loved ones, and everything will live happy. You all live happily ever after. That's a very dangerous thing. If someone is suicidal and playing this game, that could affect them. I mean, that could sway them. Like that is such a dangerous and sloppy way to write this game, to write the ending of this game. I mean, I don't want to blame this game for anyone's whatever trauma or whatever they've done to themselves, right? But I feel like that could really affect someone who is going through a mental struggle like that, like the character in the game. Every time you play a game, you can say like, oh, that character reminds me of myself, or oh, I see myself in that character, right? Well, this William Dafoe character, like a lot of people in the world, have lost people in his life, and he's very sad and he's very heartbroken, and you can see it progressing throughout the game as you play. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who can see themselves in him, who have lost family members, who have lost loved ones, who have maybe lost everything. And for him to just, kill himself and then be happy again, I just, in my opinion, that is just a very dangerous thing to put out there. Like, what are you saying with that? What's the point of that scene? What are you trying to say with this scene? That if I don't even want to speak the words, but you know where I'm going with this. So for that and a lot more about this game, I think this game is actually pretty bad. The whole like a combat system where you have to like move the joystick in the way that she is going just doesn't really. It's not very intuitive. And on top of that, like the original way to play the game is the worst way to play the game, which I feel like should be the best way to play the game because that's the way the developers intended, but it's actually the worst way to play the game. Through all the different scenes of just all that's going on, I ended up giving it a 2 out of 5, and it's going to go into the D tier for sure. And it's just a game that I went into it with fond memories of playing like the first like couple of levels, and in the end it just fell flat in a lot of different ways. And then the main thing that really knocked it down was that final sequence I just talked about. So there you go. Let me know what you think of Beyond Two Souls. If you think that it's a great game, or if you have the same opinions as me or similar opinions, I'd love to discuss it if you want to in the comments on YouTube. Also, while you're there, leave a like on the video if you want to, and or if you're on Spotify, head over to the YouTube channel. Maybe tap the like button for me if you're enjoying the podcast. I'd appreciate that. And last but not least, we played My Friendly Neighborhood, which was a game gifted to me by Greedy Waffles for my birthday. And I went into this knowing that it was like a Resident Evil-like game, more so based on like 7 and 8, first person and all that. And that's kind of all the information that I really had for it. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really fun time. It's puts a bit of a spin on that horror formula, obviously with the cutesy characters who are like Muppets. And the story behind it is they essentially the mind-friendly neighborhood like show gets shut down and the set kind of gets deserted by the staff, and these puppets or Muppets or whatever you want to call them, they're just kind of wandering around, and they stumble upon like other types of TV shows, and they watch TV themselves, and they see like all the horrible stuff going on there, and they're like, oh, this is what sells, we need to do this. So that's why they've kind of their perception is kind of distorted. So now instead of just being the loving Muppets, they're now like the crazy love you to death Muppets, and there's all kinds of weird things that happen in the game. But the main thing is that you play as this service guy who needs to go and disconnect the antenna at the top of the tower. And throughout your time, you need to just, go through these different doorways, go into these different areas, and solve some light puzzles and get through these areas without dying. And then, finally you make your way up to the antenna, and, all that stuff happens. So I think that it was a nice flow to the game. I felt like I needed maybe a little bit more direction in it here and there, because I did get lost a couple times. And I know that was more so my fault because I just kind of missed something that was pretty obvious. Being 2 keys that I needed. Both of them were kind of like in the open for me to find. But I just kind of like looked over it, and I didn't really see it, at the time. So the first stream that we did, I felt like I was stuck in like a perpetual loop for like 30 to 40 minutes, just trying to run around trying to find one single key. And I eventually backtracked all the way back to where I originally found like a breaker box that was like at the edge of where I could go for that time, and like, oh, there's the key that I needed that whole time. So that was very annoying, but I do more so blame myself than anything else. So I'm trying to be kind to the game, because like that was kind of a me thing, it's not like they hid the key or whatever. It was pretty blatantly there once I saw it. But I would have liked maybe a little bit of like a little nudge in the right direction, and sometimes just to make sure, because there were times where I felt like, oh, I'm going completely the wrong direction, aren't I? But then I would find something that I needed, so it's like, okay, well, I guess it didn't really matter in the end. The combat is good. They don't. The guns are interesting. They're kind of like they shoot like letters and stuff out of them. There's like a pistol. There's a shotgun type weapon. There's one weapon I didn't find, which was like I think it's like a submachine gun or something like that. And then you also have the pipe wrench, and the pipe wrench is absolutely worthless in this game. It's useless. They don't even start you off with the pipe wrench. You find the pistol first and then the pipe wrench, which should tell you all you need to know about this pipe wrench. It can stun the puppets sometimes, but it's very inconsistent. And I ended up just resorting to just using the pistol and the other weapons as I went along. Obviously, being a survival horror game, there's inventory management stuff you have to do. And they sometimes would give you, in my opinion, way too much ammo. But by the end of the game, I was kind of counting bullets, so I guess it wasn't like super a lot of ammo. Maybe I just found too much ammo at the same time. It's hard to say. But all in all, I felt like the game was fun. It came out last year. I felt like the game was fun. I had a good time with it. The voice acting was pretty good. One of my favorite YouTubers, Arlo, is in the game, and that doesn't sway my opinion on the game at all, obviously, but he did a good job in this. It was really fun hearing him do some voice work. And I did like the story. I liked the flow of it, of the game, and I thought that it was pretty fun. So in the end, I gave it I gave it an 8 here. I gave it a very high 4 out of 5, closer to a 4.5 than a 3.5, obviously. And definitely check it out if you want something maybe a bit different for your horror month. It's definitely not the same as like a Resident Evil, even though it has a lot of stuff that is similar to Resident Evil. The other thing that I really enjoyed about the game was instead of like killing the main like bosses of the game, the characters that are running around who are kind of undefeatable, you help them or you can help them. And I felt like that was one of the better decisions that they did with this to kind of like make it inspired by Resident Evil, but not exactly like Resident Evil, right? So I really enjoyed that aspect of the game, helping the characters instead of like just outright killing them all, right? So yeah, that is that, My Friendly Neighborhood. Check that out. All right, let's go ahead and move on to what's in the news. All right, I'm still a little bit sick, so I apologize if I, clear throat or cough a little bit as the show goes on. I'll try and edit out as much as I can. First up, the team behind Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown was disbanded. Originally, that was the only information we had, was that this development studio behind the game was completely disbanded, which in itself is unfortunate because, as you know, I played the game and I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was the best Metroidvania I ever played, but it was good. I liked the combat, I liked the world and stuff like that. So it was very disappointing to hear that they were being disbanded, and people thought that they were fired, they lost their jobs. But Ubisoft confirmed that the studio was disbanded, but the people inside of the studio are just working on different projects now. There's a rumored remake or remaster of Rayman that some people got put onto. They obviously they've been divvied around to other studios. In a statement from Abadelak El Goose, who is the senior producer of the game, he said, "I'm extremely proud of our team's work and passion at Ubisoft Montpellier to create a game that resonated with players and critics alike, and I'm confident in its long-term success. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is now at the end of its post-launch roadmap with 3 free content updates and 1 DLC that released in September. We are now focusing on making the game available to more players. It was recently launched on Steam and it will be available on Mac this winter. Most of the team members who worked on Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown have shifted to other projects and will benefit with their expertise." So yeah, sounds like skeleton crew on the game right now, and everyone else has kind of moved on to different projects, which I guess in the short term is fine, but in the long term it is unfortunate, not disappointing. It's unfortunate that we're not going to be getting more Prince of Persia: Lost Crown content. Because I thought that the Metroidvania flowed really well. They also added in some quality of life stuff that I thought really worked with the game as well. So I guess as long as they still have jobs and they're still doing what they love inside of the studio, inside of maybe a different studio, I guess that's okay. And if it is actually a Rayman remaster coming around, that might be a pretty fun thing too, especially because this game felt so good and they could use their time with working on this game, a 2D Metroidvania, to maybe benefit that game in the long run. We'll see. Okay, Sony, the studio Guerrilla Studio, which has more recently been working on other things, they announced that they are officially done with Killzone. The Killzone series is officially over. Shadowfall was the last game from the studio, and now boom bada bing, it's done. So Guerrilla Studios has been working on the Horizon series since like the middle of the PS4 era, and now they've officially said like, hey, we're not planning on bringing Killzone back anytime soon. This is coming from a interview with the lead of the Lego Horizon Adventures game. He talked about switching back to Killzone, and he said, "We were done with it as a team. As a studio, we needed to refresh the palette. It was by choice the opposite of Killzone. I think that themes that this story and the characters represent are relatable for all ages and people, like having a found family of friends and finding your place in the world." So I guess once they moved on to Horizon, they said, wow, we love working with games that have an inspirational story instead of the gritty Killzone hellish landscape that is in Killzone, right? So I don't know if that means that we will never get another Killzone game. There is a indie studio that's asking for the rights to create a Killzone game if Guerrilla doesn't want to. So we'll see what happens with that. But at this point, I said this back when Astrobot came out, and I was talking about all the different like lost franchises in the game that's represented, like Ape Escape and Killzone and stuff like that. It is so easy to just kind of give the IP to a subsidiary or a smaller studio or something like that and say, hey, what do you think you want to do with this? Let's hear your pitch. And then just give them the funding. Give them enough funding to get the game out, right? PlayStation is so concerned, and Sony themselves is so concerned with putting out the big blockbuster after blockbuster that costs hundreds of millions of dollars to make. Just do a smaller project. Do a smaller Killzone game that's like a campaign mode and maybe a bit of a multiplayer mode attached to it to just kind of keep these series alive, you know? We don't need the next big bombastic, groundbreaking game. We could have a smaller Killzone game or an Ape Escape game or a Twisted Metal game, something to keep those IPs alive and relevant. Nintendo doesn't really have this problem. I mean, maybe there's a couple franchises here and there like F-Zero, and even Metroid was gone for quite some time before they did reinvigorate the series again. But Nintendo has kind of solved that problem of like, okay, we have all these IPs. What are we going to do with these IPs? Well, they've been doing stuff with all their IPs. I mean, they're even putting out a Mario and Luigi game next month. This coming, 2 weeks from now. So why can't PlayStation also put some love into these older franchises? Like, yeah, sure, Horizon's great. God of War's awesome. The Last of Us games have been good. There's a lot of good franchises that they have and good potential for the future of them. But you're leaving behind all these IPs that still have fans and deserve to have more games in their series. And sometimes, yeah, you need to take a little bit of a break from them. I mean, Shadowfall wasn't the most widely loved game ever, right? So taking a break from these series can also be good for them as well. So if you want to come back to the Resistance series after the third game, why not? Why not do it 10 years after the last game came out? Same thing with Killzone. It's like the last game was on the PS4 era early. It was like a day one release for that console. Why not put out another Killzone game as a smaller project? I understand that these big blockbuster games, AAA games, do take a lot of resources, a lot of manpower, a lot of money. But that's why you should, when a studio comes to you and says, "Hey, we would like to do something with this IP that you have," let them do that, or maybe give them the resources to start working on it and and see what they can do. Because a lot of times smaller studios can reinvent the wheel and make things fresh again, right? So it is unfortunate that they're never going to be coming back to Killzone in their words. But then again, never say never, as Justin Bieber once said, because it could happen down the road. I mean, a lot of people never thought we would get another F-Zero game, and then we got F-Zero 99 last year. And we've been seeing a lot more love for F-Zero with the recent games coming out for the PlayStation. I'm sorry, the NSO service. So, yeah, I guess we'll see what happens in the future. But at this point, unless they do allow other studios to work with their IPs, yeah, I don't think we'll be seeing another Killzone game for quite some time, if ever at all. Which is unfortunate because the Killzone games, even though they were first-person shooters, they were fun. I had a lot of fun with the third game back in the day on PS3. I thought it was like a really nice, the PlayStation version of like a Gears of War game, right? Whatever. The Nintendo Online Playtest was started, and a lot of people are getting in trouble for sharing stuff about it online. Last week I said that they were sending DMCAs and stuff like that to people. Even though they did not sign an NDA, they were strongly suggested to not share anything about the game. But there's obviously been a lot of information leaked about it over the past week here. So the playtest wasn't anything about like the next thing for NSO or anything like that. It seems to be some sort of MMO that Nintendo was working on, something pretty big, like a big, massively multiplayer type thing. I'm not going to talk about specifics because I don't really know the specifics. Anything that's being put online has been taken down about the specifics. But I know that there was a podcast that came out last week that I missed. And it had all this information, had visual guides for everything that was going on in this playtest, and it was taken down through DMCA, a strike on YouTube. So I never got to see that, and that's like been the only place that I could have found information about it accessibly. But it does seem to be some sort of MMO, and it's kind of like an always online type thing for Nintendo, which is different. You know, it's new for Nintendo. I'm not sure if it's like a part of like anything else, but I think that anyone who is putting out information about this playtest kind of knows the risks going into it, but I guess we'll see what this is going to be all about sometime in the future. But as of right now, kind of interesting that they're dipping their toe into the MMO market. I guess we'll see what that's all about in the future. Switching gears here, The Wolf Among Us 2. We haven't really heard anything about it for quite some time at this point, which is kind of like it's always like year-long gaps, and then we hear maybe a little bit of like hey, we're still working on it, and then we move on. This one is no different. The Wolf Among Us 2, there was a Reddit report, I guess, that's since been deleted that said that the Wolf Among Us 2 was canceled or scrapped, but Telltale has actually come out in a statement and said, as a rule, we don't comment on rumors and unsubstantiated Reddit threads, but development on The Wolf Among Us 2 continues, and we're excited to share more about the game and with Telltale fans and our community when the time is right. So it's been a while since we've really seen anything. It was kind of like re-revealed at Summer Game Fest like 2 years ago at this point, right? And I feel like we probably should start to see more about this game soon. It's possible that they did scrap it and restart production on it. I mean, it's been that long. It feels like it's been as long as Metroid Prime 4 was revealed and then scrapped and then brought back, So I feel like we should be seeing something about The Wolf Among Us 2 soon. But I've said that before and I've been wrong, so whatever. My hope is that we maybe see a release date or another trailer for this at like not Summer Games Fest, the Game Awards this year, maybe even possibly into next year they do like an announcement. But as long as they still claim to be working on it, there's still hope. And I mean, I love that. I mean, The Wolf Among Us is like my favorite Telltale game, which is kind of funny because it's like the second game in the newer style of Telltale, right? Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. It's The Wolf Among Us is like a cult classic at this point. People love that game, and yet they still won't continue the story for some reason. Obviously, there's been like shutdowns and reboots and stuff like that of Telltale, the developer themselves, buyouts and stuff. Sylens, who was played by Lance Reddick in the Horizon games like Zero Dawn and Forbidden West. He's going to be recast in Lego Horizon Adventures, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. Reddick passed away in 2023. It was very sad, and we just kind of thought that, with how Forbidden West went, we don't really need to revive the character or anything like that. But they did decide to recast him for this Lego game, this Lego Horizon Adventure game. So the senior world artist, Lucas Bolt, said, Lance Reddick tragically passed away in 2023, and he is deeply missed with Guerrilla and our community. He wonderfully portrayed the essential character of Sylens in Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West. The character of Sylens does appear in Lego Horizon Adventures and will introduce the new character, the new actor, at a later date. Okay, so they'll reveal who is like reprised or being recast in the role later on. Now, it's possible that he's just like a bonus character who is being introduced in the game. Like, Lego games love to just kind of throw random characters into the mix whenever they can. So it's possible that he'll just be like an unlockable character who maybe has a couple lines of dialogue here and there for when like you're doing actions and stuff like that. That could be it. Or he'll be an essential character to the game, and they'll have a lot of talking for him to do. I don't think that it's disingenuous or wrong to recast the character, but I do think that maybe you should wait. I don't know. Maybe it is a little bit disingenuous to recast him so soon, but I don't know. Like I said, with the events of Forbidden West, like I don't know if we really needed to recast him. I don't know if we really needed him to be back. You know, Sylens to be back. We can have a new villain of the story. We can have a new bad guy of the story. I don't think that's any problem, especially with the Lego game that's not even like connected with the whole of the Horizon world, right? I don't know. We'll see who is playing the new role of Sylens in the future. HAL Laboratories part-time UFO was actually delisted on mobile devices recently. In a Twitter post, they said, as of October 22nd, 2024, we have terminated the distribution of all services of the mobile app version of part-time UFO. Thank you so much for enjoying the app. The Nintendo Switch version of part-time UFO is continuing to be distributed, so please keep enjoying it. So I don't know why they're taking it down from mobile, and I hope that they don't take it down from the Nintendo Switch version of the game, because Part-Time UFO is a bit of a fun little physics platformer where you essentially you play this little UFO and you pick up things and you move them around and stuff like that. So I guess we won't really know exactly why they took it off of mobile phones. It's possible that maybe the upkeep for it was too much money and they weren't making the money back with sales. It's possible. On the Switch, it's about $10. So if you want to check it out, that would probably be the best place to check it out at this point. So yeah, it's unfortunate to see it be delisted, and we'll probably never get like an actual reason why it was delisted. But unfortunate news for fans of Part-Time UFO on the mobile phone. But you can still get it on Switch, so I guess it's not too bad. In more recent news, the CEO, the big head honcho of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, recently he got a pretty big pay raise during the 2024 fiscal year. In 2023, he made $48.5 million. And this recent year, he made $79.1 million in cash, but mostly stock in Microsoft. So what does this mean? This means that somewhere along the line, he got a pay raise somewhere. And this comes after they spent all that money for Activision. This comes after all of the jobs that they laid off during 2023 and 2024. It's crazy. The rich do be getting richer. You know, I don't think that someone who already is making $48 million a year really needs a pay raise. But when you're the CEO of a company, you can say, "Oh, I need a raise anytime you want," and no one asks about it. It's another one of those reports that's come out as I've already talked about plenty of other ones in the past, where for whatever reason all these layoffs happen, and then it just so happens that the bigwig, the CEO of the company, had a very nice payday at the end of the year. It's just very suspicious. I don't want to get into conspiracies or anything like that, but it's a pretty big coincidence that all these layoffs happen, and then all of a sudden it comes out that they made like $30 million more than they did last year. If anyone needs a pay cut, it's the CEO. A lot of times these CEOs aren't even doing anything at the company. They're just the head of the company, and they maybe make a decision here or there. But it's really the workers who keep them afloat, and you should be paying your workers. You should be supporting your workers, and you should be worrying about yourself a little bit less. But what do you know? Just another CEO making tons of money while everyone else struggles below him. All right, let's go ahead and move on to what's coming soon. Okay, to start off this section, we got the Resident Evil remakes of 2, 3, and of course 7. They're getting a PS5 physical version in December for Japan, and in other countries in January. So these PS5 ports are of course going to be the complete edition of the game, and they're obviously going to have the upgrades like ray tracing, DualSense controller support, faster load times, 120 frames per second, etc. So the PS5 ports, I believe they did come out earlier this year already, but now they are being even more enhanced for the PS5 Pro, and this is the first time that we're getting a PS5 native physical version of the game. Can you upgrade your PS4 version to a PS5 version? I don't think so. At least it doesn't say that in this article here. But these new versions will be available on the 6th of December in Japan, and then January 2025 in the rest of the world. So currently the ports are only priced at $20 in Japan. So that could mean that, all three of these ports together are going to be, $60? That wouldn't be too bad at all. I mean, if you haven't played one of these ports, they're very good games. Obviously, Resident Evil 3 maybe was a bit butchered, but in general, they're all three good games. Resident Evil 2 was one of the better games that came out that year that it came out. Resident Evil 7 was obviously a very good game, really good return to form for the Resident Evil franchise. So I could easily recommend 2 or 7. 3, it's fine. Nothing like too crazy though. But if you want to check those out, they'll be coming to the US in January if you want to get a physical version of these PS5 ports. Sniper Elite Resistance got a release date. It's coming in January next year. January 30th to be exact. Kind of smack dab in the middle of kind of the more crazy release schedule for these games coming next year. February seems to be exploding with games, and this is like right at the tail end of January, which pretty much just puts it right into February, honestly. So if you don't know, Resistance is going to follow a different character. The Allied forces are trying to invade, obviously plan their way into France. So as a Resistance member, you are sabotaging things like dams, AA guns, flak guns, etc., and you are, of course, a sniper in this game as well as you normally are. There's going to be a deluxe edition of the game, but there are pre-order bonuses that you can get with either version. One is the Target Führer campaign mission, which is pretty much a staple of the Sniper Elite games, where you essentially shoot Hitler in various different ways, which is always a good time. There's a bonus weapon skin and the Kar 98 rifle, I guess, early unlock. I would hate to say that this is only in the game if you pre-order, because the Kar 98 is like a staple of World War II. I don't understand why that would be locked. The deluxe edition is going to include the season pass, everything I just mentioned, the M1911 pistol, and 2-day early unlock. Which is also just like, why are we locking the M1911 pistol behind the deluxe edition? That's another staple weapon of World War II and World War II video games. Why are we doing this? Do you really need that much more money? It's actually kind of ridiculous. But Sniper Elite has had a good track record. All the Sniper Elite games usually rank pretty high. Sniper Elite 3 was really good back in the PS3 days. Sniper Elite 4 was good enough. The VR game was decent. I enjoyed that. Then the zombie games have also been all pretty good as well. Even though 4 took a bit of a dip in my opinion, they're all pretty fun to play, all pretty good. So if you want to check that out, it'll be available on January 30th. I do believe that's coming to Xbox Game Pass, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think that it's going to be a pretty good one. I mean, most of these games are good, so we'll see how that goes. Metal Slug Tactics finally has a release date. They've been working on this game for quite some time. This is the turn-based, tactics-based Metal Slug game that has a very nice art style, includes all the things that you love about Metal Slug, but in like this new way, this new formula. So it's going to be coming in on November 5th, 2024. And if you want to check that out, it's going to be available soon. It's going to be available across pretty much every single platform: Steam, Switch, PlayStation, Xbox. So no need to worry about that. The pre-orders will go live soon. In the description, they said Metal Slug Tactics offers a fresh perspective on the iconic battles of Metal Slug series. Lead your squad to victory through strategic guile and superior firepower in a perfect blend of classic action and technical depth. Unleash the power of special attacks and shape the outcome of each encounter. There are 3 extra characters you can get with the digital version of the game, including Clark, Still, Ralph Jones, and Leona Hydern. And then there are 2 returning games. Leona. I'm sorry. 2 of those are returning. 1 is new. There is a physical edition planned for the game, which will probably be what I get, honestly. But if you want to get the digital version, that'll be available soon, November 5th. Balatro is teaming up with 4 other games to release another variety pack, I suppose. New skins for your cards. So there's the 3 games that you can get. They're pretty much all just the face cards: Ace, King, Queen, Jack. Those are the cards that get changed around. But you could have Cyberpunk 2077, Stardew Valley, The Binding of Isaac, and Slay the Spire grace the various different cards. It looks like Binding of Isaac will be on the hearts. Slay the Spire is going to be on the clubs. Cyberpunk is going to be on the spades, and Stardew Valley will be on the diamonds, the diamond cards. So they're also joining the other cards, The Witcher, Vampire Survivor, Dave the Diver, and Among Us, who were also on the more recent pack that came out. So Balatro's great. If you haven't played it, it's definitely worth your time. It's a very fun deck builder type game. It seems like they've also added in maybe a couple of new jokers as well to the game based on the various properties. Don't quote me on that, though, because I was wrong about that before. But they did show off a Joker that I hadn't seen before, so it's possible that that's a new one, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's one that I just haven't discovered yet. There's still more. Even though I've beaten the game a couple times now, there's still so much more to discover about the game through various different runs and more. You know, it's still a very fun game, though. Really enjoyable. If you want to check out, if you want to change around your deck. There you go. You got 4 new franchises to grace your cards. Yuka Replay has officially been announced for console release. Before it was just maybe a Steam release. I'm not sure. Or maybe it's just unconfirmed what it was going to be coming to. But it essentially is coming to all major platforms. Nintendo, PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. That is something, though. It just says Nintendo, not Switch. It says Nintendo. So it's possible that they are planning for a release on whatever the next console is going to be for Nintendo. If you don't know, Yooka-Laylee, I was very disappointed in that when I played it originally. And even on my replay last year, I tried to replay it last year. I just was not into it. I've seen some gameplay, and Ant Dude, a YouTuber I follow, was also given a demo of the game to mess around with. And I do like what I see. The graphical upgrade is obviously nice, but they also seem to upgrade a lot of the mechanics in the game, like the fast run or roll, I guess you could say, is not linked to the energy, and everything takes a little bit less energy, which is really nice. I love to see it. There's also going to be a fast travel system implemented as well. So it does seem like they've really improved the game a lot. I do hope that it is improved because I've wanted to like this game. I've wanted to. I even helped fund it back on the Kickstarter days. My name is in the credits, but I just never. I mean, once I got like more than halfway through the game, I just never finished it because it just was not great. So I'm hoping that they redesign some things, get some things ironed out, and we'll see how it is when it gets re-released. There's no release date for it yet, but I can only assume that's going to be coming soon and or next year. So there you go. Once again, I have some high hopes for this remake. I do hope that it'll be what I wanted it to be from the get-go. But as of right now, the main experience to have with Yooka-Laylee is the Impossible Lair, because that was a fantastic 2D platformer. So we'll see if they can turn Yooka-Laylee into a fantastic 3D platformer. We shall see. They also reworked some of the songs, working with Grant Kirkhope and David Wise, who did the original game's soundtrack. They're going to rework some stuff in there. I'm hoping that they completely redesigned the casino level, because that was the last straw that broke my back when playing the game, because it was just such a dead and open area, and there was just nothing to do. Whatever. There you go. Yooka-Laylee Replay confirmed for multiple consoles and coming soon. In the same vein of things, Croc, Legend of the Gobos remaster, has been confirmed for its platforms as well. If you don't know what Croc is, it's a early PS1 platformer that has a lot of charm to it. It's kind of a niche game, obviously, but when I played it, I thought that was very well done. It just kind of, the controls are tank controls, and it just platforming and tank controls don't really mesh too well. But this remastered version, you'll be able to play with the new, some modern control scheme, or you can choose to do the tank controls if you want to. Everything's been updated and stuff like that. This Croc remaster looks exactly like I would expect a remaster of a PS1 or N64 game to look like. It's not like super polished or anything like that, but the visuals have been enhanced. The edges have been smoothed out. There's just so many things that look better in this game. That the original game obviously has a lot of charm, but for a modern release, you don't want it to be exactly the same as the original game. But it is coming to Switch, GOG, PlayStation, Xbox. Surprisingly, no Steam on the list, so it's coming to GOG only at this point. But it's looking really good. It's supposed to be coming soon, so it'll probably release sometime this year or next year. But I think that it's looking really good. And if it comes out physically, I would also love to get a physical version. Even though I already have the PS1 game physical, I would love to get a physical version of this as well. Check that out if you want to. The trailer for that is on Argonaut Games YouTube channel. And The Thing Remastered got another look at its gameplay with a new gameplay trailer and a release date. That's right. The game is coming across all the platforms that you can expect, and the visuals of the game have been greatly enhanced. Obviously, it kind of still has a bit of that PS2 aesthetic to it. But it seems like all the visuals have been enhanced, especially the things. If you recall, when I played the game on stream a couple years ago, we got soft locked at the end of the game because I didn't have any health, and the game did not give me any health packs, and that was just very, very disappointing. And I couldn't brute force my way through the game, and I couldn't backtrack or load up an older save because I couldn't go back far enough. I'm hoping that they fix that problem with this game, adding a couple more med packs, maybe being a bit more nice with the distribution of all that stuff. So we will see about that. The game is going to run at 4K at 120 frames per second. Night Dive Studios has a really good track record with their remasters, so this is in good hands. I feel like this is in good hands. So the game is going to be coming. Oh, I guess it didn't say when the game is coming. Well, you can add it to your wish list now. I believe it's coming soon. They did not give a release date for the game, but it is coming soon. I am excited to play that. I think that it's going to be a nice remaster of an underappreciated game. There's so much going on in this game with the AI and stuff like that. I really hope a lot of people check this out because it's also a true sequel to the original movie, too, if you want to check it out for that reason, too. All right, a horror game based on the operating system of the PS2 is coming soon. So essentially, what you do is you're like trying to play a game, and it boots you back to the opening screen where you can choose save files and stuff like that. And I guess it's kind of like a psychological horror game where, I don't know, you're trying to work your way through the navigation system. In the description, they said, navigate the underbelly of your game console to restore its functionality and waking something in the process. Ooh. So yeah, the game seems to only be announced for like Steam as of this point, but it's possible. If it comes to PlayStation, that would be very apt. It would be very apt for that. But we don't have a release date yet, but it is coming soon. I'm sure it'll come out by the end of the October, I would feel like. I am pretty interested in this, so I will definitely be checking that out. It's coming from Night Signal Entertainment. Worms Armageddon Anniversary Edition has 3 more games added to its list of anniversary games, being Worms from the Super NES, Worms from Genesis and the Mega Drive, and World Party. Maybe it's supposed to be Worms Party from the Game Boy Advance. So those are the 3 more games coming to the collection. It already includes Worms Armageddon on the PS1, Worms Armageddon on the Game Boy as well. So there you go. It's not clear whether they're going to be on the game free of charge or DLC. They did not reveal that, but we do know that the games are coming to the anniversary edition in 2025, so I guess we'll see what happens there. Black Myth Wukong is officially getting a PS5 version, a physical PS5 version, and they did confirm that it is going to be on disc, no internet connection required. I'm sure an update will be required, but you don't have to play the you don't need to download the entire game. That'll be available for about $60 on VGP, which is a like worldwide distributor of various things, kind of like a worldwide Amazon, I guess you could say. Which Amazon is already worldwide, so it's like whatever. Yeah, so if you want to check out Black Myth Wukong physically, that'll be available. Pre-orders are now live on VGP. They will ship sometime in 2024, so probably at the end of 2024. Not too bad. And then finally for today, Cat Quest. The Fur-tastic Trilogy is getting a physical edition on Switch. I don't believe it's getting a physical edition on PlayStation, but it's possible. It's possible. So if you want to check out the entire trilogy physically, there you go. You can pre-order that now, I'm pretty sure. Let me see. There was a dual pack that I almost got back in the day. The Fur-tastic Trilogy is going to be priced at $50, so I'm sure that the dual pack is probably going to be reduced in price, either that or taken off stores. The game is already available to pre-order on Amazon, so if you want to check that out, apparently the release date is scheduled for this month, so you should be able to get the game before Christmas time if you so desire. But yeah, it does include all three of the Cat Quest games, and the first game I thought was fun. Not my favorite thing ever, but I thought it was fun. And I think the second game added in co-op, and the third game has a pirate version, has a pirate vibe to it. So they keep getting better in terms of style. Yeah, if you want to check that out, it's available to pre-order now. Okay, folks, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Let's go ahead and move on to what's the song of the day. If you know the song's name and the game that it came from, either put it in the comments down below on YouTube or in the Discord. Link down in the description. You can come over to the Fair64 section and say what you think it is. And if you do that, I will give you a super reaction, or in the comments on YouTube, I will give you a like and say congratulations. Let's listen to what today's song is right now. Okay, if you know what that song is and the game that came from, let me know in the places that I told you to. All right, folks, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Fair64. I do appreciate that. I also do a podcast called Film Freaks with a Z. We most recently talked about Reign of Fire from 2002. The next movie we're going to be talking about is Coco from 2017, which will be released next weekend. I also stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/YemmyTheFerret, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays. We're wrapping up our October streams, and then we'll be getting into November, which you know what that means. It's Bunger Month in November, where anyone in the Discord can suggest a game for me to play, and I will try and get through as many games as I can. Also, if you want to check out my YouTube channel and my Twitter and whatever, it's all at Yemmy the Ferret. I also have a VODs channel for replays of streams called Yemmy the Ferret VODs. And then I also opened up a new YouTube channel for NFL weekly recaps called Ferret Football, if you would like to check that out as well. All right. Thank you so much once again. I am Yemmy the Ferret, and I'm out of here. Have a good rest of your day and or week and or weekend. So long.
The Ferret 64 podcast is owned and edited by Yemmy the Ferret. Small sound clips used throughout the podcast were made by Yemmy the Ferret. The song in the intro and outro is Nightshade by Adhesive Wombat. The Ferret 64 logo was made by Player2P2. News sources include PushSquare.com, NintendoLife.com, and PureXbox.com. All opinions, video game related, are my own. Thank you for listening.